What's up, Tailgaters? You're in the booth with Tailgate Nate today. Welcome to my channel. Week 9 predictions are starting up today, and we got a good one from Salt Lake City, Utah, a de facto elimination game for the national conversation in the Pac-12. It's the 6-1 Oregon Ducks facing off against the 6-1 Utah Utes. This is going to be a really fun one from Salt Lake City. I'm really excited to tune into this one. We'll tell you where to watch it here at the end of the video, but before we dive on into this preview prediction, you guys know I got to thank you for all the support that the channel has seen as of late. You guys have no idea how much it means to me, so thank you guys so much. If you want to continue to show your support for this channel in any way you can, I can tell you a couple ways you can do so. The biggest way, hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, but you can do more than that. Again, that helps support my channel. Watching the video is a huge way. You can also like, comment, share, really anything else that you guys feel like you are willing and able to do and that you feel like would help support the channel. That's going to mean a whole lot to me. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and dive on into this Week 9 prediction, the biggest game of the week. It's a top 15 showdown in the Pac-12. And both of these teams are fighting for their playoff lives. It'll be taking place in Rice-Eccles Stadium in Salt Lake City, Utah, the home of the Utah Utes. This is going to be a really fun one. Let's dive on into the stats that both of these teams have put up so far this season. And we're going to start with the road team here, the Oregon Ducks. Absolute heartbreaker in their game 2 weeks ago against the Washington Huskies. Came back, had a little bit of trouble with Washington State, but they were able to figure things out and really be able to punch through there, right? So let's take a look at this Oregon offense. And I mean, just go ahead and take a look at the stats. Any way you slice it, this has been one of the most impressive offenses in college football so far this season. 553 yards per game, 47 points per game. They're converting over 50% of their opportunities on third down. Their offensive line is playing really well. The run game is working. They're not allowing pressure to get back there, so they're doing a really nice job in pass protection, and they only have one turnover so far this year, and that is one lone interception that Bo Nix has thrown so far this year. Other than that, Bo Nix has been one of the best quarterbacks in the nation. 2,089 yards, 19 touchdowns, and one interception so far this year. Again, he's only been down on the ground 4 times. Bucky Irving is running really well for this team. 649 yards, 7.5 yards per carry, 7 touchdowns. You also have Jordan James, who's running exceptionally well. He's averaging 8 yards per carry. And Noah Whittington, even though he only has 20 carries, averaging 7.3 yards. And Bo Nix here and there has shown the ability with the legs as well. A lot of great wide receivers here. Tez Johnson. You got guys like Troy Franklin, the tight end, Terrence Ferguson. Gary Bryant has shown up big. Bucky Irving is a huge threat out of the backfield. You also got Trayshawn Holden, my apologies. This is an Oregon offense that runs really deep, and it can beat you in several different ways. Going to be a very nice test for the Utah defense, although they did see a pretty good offense last week, and they were able to shut them down. So we'll see what kind of defensive plan they have. We'll talk about the Ute defense in a second. Let's talk about the Duck defense right now, because this is a Duck defense that has been really good for the most part, right? Yes, they've had a couple lapses, and yeah, it struggled at times to slow down the Washington attack, but that Washington attack is really explosive. Struggled at times last week to be able to hold off Washington State, but again, that's a team that was desperately coming out there on a 2-game losing streak, needing a win. They played with their hair on fire. Cam Ward was playing well. Oregon's defense was able to stand up to the task, and you know what? This is a defensive front that we said coming into the year where, look, they added a lot of transfers, they added a lot of big bodies. It was a defensive line that was expected to improve, and it has dramatically. 25 sacks is one of the top marks in the nation this year. They're only allowing 95 rush yards per game. That's also one of the top marks in the nation. And overall, this defense has come up with some really big plays. The secondary, 30 passes defended, 5 interceptions, including 1 for a pick 6. They're not forcing a ton of turnovers, but they are forcing some turnovers at some crucial points. This is an Oregon team that, when you look top to bottom, offensively, defensively, there really is not much to complain about with the Ducks here. That's why they got a number 8 sitting next to their name. And then a lot of mines, including my own, a higher number than that. I sit Oregon right now at number 6. So let's now go ahead and take a look at what the Utah Utes are going to be providing offensively. It is official now. Cam Rising is done for the year. He will not play. We'll see if Cam Rising has a medical red shirt or anything like that, giving him yet another season of college football. This offense has still been without Brant Kuithe, and it's an offense that you could just tell early in the year needed to find a spark. Nate Johnson had been pretty serviceable at the quarterback. Will enter Bryson Barnes last week. He had played some throughout the season as well, but last week he really was able to show out what he did. Threw for 3 touchdowns against USC, really helped this offense move the football. On the year, has 633 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 3 picks. He's only been sacked 5 times. Nate Johnson has been sacked 8 times. Nate Johnson, a little bit more of a mobile quarterback than Bryson Barnes is. However, Bryson Barnes can flash the ability with the legs as well. He's averaging 3.8 yards per carry, does have 3 rushing touchdowns this season. Jaquindon Jackson still running well. He's been sort of in and out of the lineup with injuries. Jalen Glover is still there, but the presence of Sione Vaki, that is the big thing that has driven this offense, and Vaki has really provided a spark to this offense that the Utah Utes have needed. Not only with him being their 3rd leading tackler, he's kind of playing that Micah Bernard role. If you remember Micah Bernard in 2021 playing both ways, that's what Vaki is doing right now. So he's the team's 3rd leading tackler, but he's also the team's 4th leading receiver, 144 yards out of the backfield, and now their 3rd leading rusher, and he's running exceptionally well, averaging 9.3 yards per carry. He's provided a huge spark to this offense, and especially with Cam rising out, this is an offense that's going to need to continue moving against a pretty stout Oregon defensive front. And speaking of a stout defensive front, you're not going to find many defensive lines, or I should say many defensive fronts, better in the nation than what the Utah Utes provide. They are one of the best 3rd down defenses in the entire country. They're forcing turnovers. They're generating pressure. Their rush defense is magnificent. And, I mean, if you go ahead and take a look there, these 2 secondaries are dead even in terms of passing yards allowed per game. But this is a Utah defense that I would give the edge to because of their physicality, the way they play. Caleb Williams was not able to throw for a touchdown in the game against the Utah Utes. I believe he ended up having some rushing touchdowns in there, if I am not mistaken. But this is a Utah defense that was really shown up in some big moments so far this season. This is going to be a very, very interesting game to watch. That is for sure, guys. Everything I've just said is leading me into my what to watch for, keys to the game, whatever you want to call it. It's just some things I think you should keep an eye on when you tune into this one. Again, we'll tell you where to watch it in a second. But we are going to start with keys to the game, what to watch for, again, whatever you want to call it, for the Oregon Ducks with the way that this Utah defense has played. And yes, it wasn't perfect in the game last week against USC, but it did enough. It came away with some takeaways, and it was able to really set the momentum and have the offense go do their thing and win the game. Bo Nix and Bucky Irving are going to need to be dynamic, right? This is a Bo Nix and Bucky Irving-led offense that, look, for the most part this year, have been very, very good. Yeah, there have been a couple lapses on a couple of drives through pretty much every game so far this year, but for the most part, guys, this is the Bo Nix-led offense, led by Bucky Irving in the backfield, that's been running really, really well, and it probably gets its biggest test of the year against this Utah Ute defense. They're going to need to be sharp and on their A game. Defensively now, let's go ahead and move on over to that side of the ball because you're going to need to force takeaways. I didn't mention it, but this is the Utah offense that only has 4 turnovers on the season. Granted, 3 of them have been interceptions from Bryson Barnes, and he threw one last week against USC. And this is the Duck defense, especially in the secondary, that likes their interceptions. Again, 5 of them so far on the year. You got to be able to force takeaways, and you got to be able to contain Vaki. He's the spark that this offense has needed, so you got to be able to contain him. But in my opinion, guys, the Ducks just have too many explosive tendencies. They have too many explosive weapons, and they're going to be very, very hard to slow down. Now, can they be slowed down? Yes. Washington did provide a couple of things that were able to slow down this Oregon offense. Washington State kind of did the same thing here and there as well. But moving on into the keys for the Utah Utes, officially now, without Cam Rising, we can finally stop beating that into the ground of, is he coming back? Is he not? No. Officially, he is not coming back. He is done for the year. This offense is going to be led by Bryson Barnes. It's going to be led by Sione Vaki and some of the other playmakers out there. It has to take care of business here in this game because this is a really, really good Oregon defensive front. I think it's going to be really hard for Vaki to run the football at times, but you know what he has shown this year is that he is a very, very explosive option out of the backfield. Again, kind of playing that like Micah Bernard role. He is playing both ways as well. But Vaki is going to need to break through. He's going to need to come away with some big runs here. He's going to need to, well, do what he's done throughout his time with the Utah offense so far this year, and that is provide the spark, provide those big plays, provide the momentum changing or the momentum keeping plays to be able to keep this Utah Ute offense driving down the field, be able to get some points on the board for the Utes. I think the Utes defense is going to have some really, really good moments in this game. This is a defensive front and a defensive scheme that is too good at creating pressure. They will get Bo Nix on the ground here in this game. But let's go back to that third bullet point that I have there with the Oregon Ducks. The Ducks have too many explosive tendencies. I think that's going to be the key here in this game. I think these two defenses are really, really good, especially on the defensive fronts. These are two defenses that are going to create pressure to opposing quarterbacks. These are two defenses that are looking really, really good. My apologies. Oregon should be 3-1 in conference there. So that is... My apologies. Oregon should be, let's count them up. 1, 2, yep, 3-1 in conference. So that is my fault there. But these are two defensive fronts that are really good. Both are going to be able to create pressure. But which offense do I trust more? I think that is what it comes down to it. These are two secondaries that are very, very comparable. They have the exact same pass per game statistic mark. After all, they play very similarly, but I trust the Oregon offense more. I trust Bo Nix. I trust this Oregon offense a little bit more, and I think the Ducks are going to come out on top here on the road in Rice-Eccles Stadium. I do think Utah's going to cover the spread. The spread sits right now, as I'm recording this video, at 7, but with the Oregon Ducks' explosive tendencies offensively, I think Bo Nix, Bucky Irving, and company are going to make one too many big plays, and that will put the Utah Utes to bed. So Oregon stays alive in the college football playoff race. They win 30-24 in Rice-Eccles Stadium in what should be a very, very good one. 3:30 Eastern time on Fox. That's going to do it for this one. Let me know your thoughts on this game in the comment section down below. And hey, as always, remember to play hard but tailgate harder. I'll see all of you guys in the next video. Goodbye.